their attention for House Bill 104. Mr. Speaker, could you have the clerk please report House Committee Sub 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Sub 1 to House Bill 104.
And House Committee Sub 1 just makes a few minor changes, and I move for its adoption.
Motion is for the adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed, nay. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Kenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So House Bill 104, it creates new beneficiary options for Kentucky Retirement System's KRS retirees and adds an option to Teachers Retirement System, TRS, those retirees. Currently, TRS retirees are afforded limited ability to change beneficiaries once they have retired, while KRS retirees are afforded none. So House Bill 104 will permit Kentucky Retirement System retirees to change beneficiaries upon the occurrence of a qualifying event, just as TRS retirees are permitted to do. And the bill adds another qualifying event to the list of qualifying events already afforded to TRS retirees. So what are the qualifying events? The qualifying events that members will now be permitted to change their beneficiary is the birth or adoption of a child, in a situation of divorce or remarriage, or the death of a named beneficiary. So a little bit about how it actually works. You know, when you retire as a TRS or a KRS retiree, you make a choice, and you make a choice of your benefit plan, and you make a choice of your death beneficiary. And with that, you make a one-time lifetime choice. If you're a KRS member at this time, this bill will help equalize between KRS and TRS the ability to name new beneficiaries upon these qualifying events. The bill does require, really the meat and potatoes of the bill is all in section 1(5)(a), and I'm going to read it very quickly. Following a qualifying event, which shall include marriage, remarriage, the birth or adoption of a child, or the death of a designated beneficiary, the member may elect a new beneficiary in accordance with subsection 4 of this section and a new optional payment plan in accordance with KRS 61.635, provided the member makes the election within 120 days of the qualifying event on a form prescribed by the systems. The retirement allowance resulting from the change in beneficiary and payment plan, as applicable, and recalculated pursuant to this paragraph, and this is the important part for all members to understand, shall be actuarially equivalent to the present value of the amount of the retirement allowance payment to the retired member prior to the change in beneficiary and payment plan. So again, we're talking about pension language, and it can get confusing, but basically it says, if you permit this qualifying event, you permit this legislation, if we enact it, it will not have an actuarial effect on the pension systems. And there is a fiscal note, an actuarial analysis within the bill, and you can take a look at it. It pretty much says the same thing. Now, Mr. Speaker, when we did put this bill together and we worked on it over the summer and fall, we talked about many options of whether this bill should apply to current retirees, new retirees, prospectively, in reverse. And the current language of the bill, without the floor amendment I'm getting ready to call or to talk about, did not permit current retirees to do it. And we talked about different ways that it could work for current retirees. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to yield to the gentleman from Nelson for a friendly amendment.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Nelson 50 for explanation of a friendly floor amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you have the clerk please report House Floor Amendment 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Floor Amendment 1 to House Bill 104.
Gentleman from Nelson.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from Kenton 65 has a good bill here, and it's a bill that solves a problem going forward. But unfortunately, I have a particular constituent that has a past problem that we need to fix, who has had a qualifying event happen. He was engaged, named a beneficiary, has now moved on with a different person, and he and his prior fiancee have moved on and remarried, but she is still his beneficiary and doesn't want to be. So what this floor amendment does is lets folks that are caught in that box have a one-time qualifying event. So you have until the end of January 1st, 2021, after this bill gets passed, to use your one-time qualifying event to make a change. That's all the floor amendment does. I would move passage of the House Floor Amendment 1.
Motion is for the adoption of House Floor Amendment 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed, nay. House Floor Amendment 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Kenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now, unless there are further questions or any questions, I move for passage of House Bill 104 with House Committee Sub 1 and House Floor Amendment 1.
Question before the body is passage of House Bill 104 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1 and House Floor Amendment 1. Is there any discussion? Chair recognizes the gentleman from Crittenden for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
He will yield.
I have a question on page 5, and I'd tell you the line number, except the committee sub doesn't have the line numbers there. But on Part C, it's, well, we can all read it, upon divorce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it comes down and says, an ex-spouse who was the named beneficiary of the member's notification, and so on and so forth. I don't really understand that. Are we saying that upon the death of the individual, then the ex-spouse would do it? It just does, it seems strange to me the way it's written. Maybe I'm missing something.
Gentleman from Kenton.
Thank you, gentlemen. And that's a good question. And when you quickly read that area, that section of the bill, you would get the impression that the pension does automatically revert to an ex-spouse. But what the line says and what it makes clear, and is already by operation of law, this is the fact, and this is conforming language that the bill writers suggested, was that the retiree who wants to name an ex-spouse as a beneficiary can do that. So this language is just cleanup language. It says they can do that, and that's really all it says.
Gentleman from Crittenden.
Thank you. I didn't read it quickly, though. I read it several times.
Would you like to comment on the bill, sir?
Not really.
Question before the body. House Bill 104 is amended by House Committee Substitute 1 and House Floor Amendment 1. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk will sound the chimes. Those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay, and the roll call is open for your vote. All members voted. Does any member wish to change or explain their vote? Clerk will take the roll. There being 88 members voting aye, no members voting nay, House Bill 104 is passed. Gentleman from Kenton.
Move for the clincher.
That